Hey everybody, welcome to day 8 of the 60-day novel writing challenge, which means you have successfully made it through the first week and you've stuck with your commitment, you've stayed motivated, and I want to say congratulations. I'm so proud of you for still being here. We got a long ways to go, so keep that motivation up. Now today we're going to be talking all about plots and subplots. This is going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, but I figure, if you've been here for a week, hopefully you have. And then whatever it is you're drinking today, for me, I'm celebrating you with a nice glass of bubbly, so cheers. Let's go ahead and grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. Now, one of the things I want you to keep in mind most of all as we dive into this is that plots within a story are limitless. You can have plots within plots within plots. You can have so many that are all driving the main plot and the main story forward. And also, they don't have to take any specific shape. They don't have to be any specific size. Plots are one of the things that you can do almost anything with. And so we're going to talk about a lot of the different ways that we can break it down and recognize some of our plot points and list them out so that we can really elaborate on them and make them as awesome as we can. Now, one of the books that comes immediately to mind for me is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This is the one where Harry has to compete. Gosh, it's a big book. This is the one where Harry has to compete in the Triwizard Tournament. And this is one of the best ways to examine breaking down plots into smaller plots because the overall plot is that he wants to win the tournament, right? So when you break that down, it's broken down into tasks. Those are like smaller subplots. He has to complete task 1 and task 2 and task 3. And then within each of those tasks, there's plots in those too. So in the one where Harry has to go underwater with like the mermaids and everything, he only gets the clue because of another plot, because he had given Cedric Diggory like a hint at one point, so Cedric returned the favor for him. That was a separate plot that plays into this plot. So they are just interwoven in every way. And then you find out the whole Triwizard Tournament is part of an even bigger plot. It's all Lord Voldemort's plan to begin with anyways. So this is one of the best examples of how plots within plots can move the story forward in one concise way, but also have so many branches and have so many different story elements to explore along the way. Another one that does this really well is Ready Player One. It's kind of a similar breakdown where there's a big, great treasure that the character is trying to go after in a virtual world, but there's tasks, there's clues that he has to solve along the way. So each clue is a subplot in itself, kind of like the Triwizard Tournament. But there's also the girl that he likes. That's another plot that's woven in throughout the whole story. And also his inner turmoil of he's kind of, what's the way to say this? A nerd. And he doesn't want to be out in the real world. He wants to spend his entire life in this virtual gaming system. And that's a plot too, as he grows as a character and as a person throughout the story. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil what your homework is today. We're going to be talking about a lot of the plots that go into our stories. And so some of them are going to be like your character's inner growth. So is there something that they're bad at the beginning of the story that they grow to be better at? And that could be, maybe they're a bad person and they grow into a better person, or a skill that develops along the way. Those can be small plots within your story. Also, the obstacles that are along the way to get towards the main plot, the main conflict, the main thing that your character is trying to overcome. All of the obstacles along the way should have some sort of a subplot behind them. So either people that they need to get past, so maybe they need to befriend them, or maybe they need to conquer them to get to whatever their end goal is. All of the obstacles along the way can be a plot of their own. Now also keep in mind there are going to be multiple characters who have multiple goals throughout the story. So if you have characters whose goals conflict, so one of them wants to take down the corporation and the other one wants to rise to the top of the corporation, that becomes a plot in itself. It's almost like two plots because this one wants to take it down, this one wants to rise within the ranks. It's a whole nother plot that those two are going to conflict and come head to head and be an issue. So definitely keep in mind that you have multiple characters, and a good, strong character should have some sort of motivation, something that they are working towards within the story, and that's a plot point in itself as well. You can even have big main plots that interweave and create a story that way. My first time of ever doing that was in Catching Epics, where I Here, I'll move that. In Catching Epics is where for the first time I had multiple perspectives. I had 3 main storylines that were going on in that book. And I consider this to be advanced because I found it so difficult the first time that I attempted to do this, to get all of the timing right and to get all of those main plots to weave together to make one story. But it can be done, and it's actually what I'm attempting to do with the book that I'm writing right now. Is I have 2 main plots. I've got the good guys who are like all part of one family, and I've got the baddies who you of course will love as well. But they have conflicting agendas. So one of them is trying to solve their sister's murder, and the other one is probably the one who killed her. But he also has an agenda of his own of he needs to get information out of this girl. So both of them are going to have a main plot to themselves, and it's actually going to be told through both of their perspectives as they both try to kind of play each other for the information they need in this magic circus world. And I'd be lying if I said that I had all of the details worked out, because I don't. But what I'm going to do is for today's homework, we're going to go through and we're going to list out all of the main plots, all of the subplots, the way that they work together to make the story move forward. We're just going to write out as much information about each of those plots as we can and try to identify what every one of them is. So do you have a character who's going to grow? Do you have a character who has an agenda that's opposite of another character's? We're going to go through our stories and try to list out every plot point that we can think of, and then also try to describe how it's going to look throughout the course of the full story. So does it start in the beginning that your character's a bad person, and that's kind of one of the smaller plots, is that throughout the course of the story, as they go through the main adventure and past all the obstacles which are plots in themselves, do they grow to be a better person? Or maybe the other way around, maybe they grow to be a worse person. But try to list out in relation to the other plots in the story, how does this one grow, and then how are the other plots growing around it, and try to be as descriptive as you can. Now this is gonna look messy, and that is okay because plots are limitless. That is just how it is. So there's no formula that I can give you to say this is how many plots you should have, or this is how they should interweave. This is where we are artists and we are creators, and we need to come up with those ways on our own. And it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be messy, but it's okay. Remember, the goal behind this is that you're going to be coming up with 10 more ideas for today. So as you go through and you look at these plots and you evaluate them and you describe them, come up with 10 more ideas. We are on day 8 today, so you should have 80 ideas total in your ideas or notes and ideas document. So I'm going to jump off and do this as well. Definitely hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow for day 9 of the 60-day novel writing challenge. Bye.